twins. All right. Well, welcome back to the 7th episode of the View Dependent podcast, where we take a look at all things in the world of 3D reconstruction, whether that's through Radiance fields or other methodologies. And so we're super, super excited to have both Lukas Meyer and Andreas Gilson here today to talk about Fruit Nerf. And for those who don't know about Fruit Nerf, it's actually a very, very interesting paper. And so just to give a little sneak peek of it, what you're able to do with this is not only will you get the visuals, the hyper-real visuals that you get with Radiance fields, but specifically with Fruit Nerf, you can actually go through and you can have all these different individual fruits be segmented and flagged, and it's not just apples as well. It's several different fruit types, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. So yeah, welcome to the show, Lukas and Andy. It's great to have you here.
And also welcome from my side.
Well,
Glad
so
to have
with
you
that
here.
in mind, I kind of wanted just to start with a general introduction. So if you could just both, start by introducing yourself, like what your focus of your PhD thesis has been.
Right, yeah, thanks for having us here. Yeah, my name is Lukas Meyer. I'm at the Friedrich-Alexander-Universität in Erlangen-Nürnberg, and I'm at the Visual Computing Group in Erlangen. And yeah, my topic is about creating digital twins of fruit trees, or specific cherry trees, apple trees. And yeah, we started working on the project like 2.5, 3 years ago. And yeah, time has developed, and yeah.
That's cool. Andy?
Yeah, thanks for having me as well. I'm very excited to be here. And I'm Andreas Gilson. I'm working at the Fraunhofer Institute, the IAS, and especially the Development Center for X-ray Technologies, EZRT, a lot of acronyms. I think for 4 years as an applied researcher, mostly for applied industrial project, and also like research. And I think, 2 or 3 years ago, our project started. The project is called 45G, where I met Lukas Meyer. And since then, we've been like on the topic of creating digital twins of trees, especially of cherry trees, which is not maybe the best place to start, but we can get to that later. And that's mostly it. I'm working also on the University of Bamberg because I recently started pursuing my PhD, so I'm not finished yet as a cognitive systems chair. But yeah, most of the work is at Fraunhofer, and I think we do lots of stuff in the agricultural sector where this project is loaded in. It's like one niche of the stuff we're doing.
Cool. Right. So maybe you can directly go into the meat. So what is fruit counting and why is it interesting?
I mean, yeah, we came to this topic when we actually did the research on digital twins, and actually we didn't know before that fruit counting was even a thing. And yeah, we came across a lot of different papers actually tackling fruit counting, fruit sizing, so specifically determine the size of the actual fruit, which is actually a nice thing for pre or post-harvest management. So basically you can plan how many workers you need to pick fruits, you can plan how many storage you need for your fruits, and you kind of like can plan how many package you need for wrapping up your fruits.
Yeah, I mean, the original plan or the project goal is to really make real digital twins of actual real trees, right? And so the idea we started from is just that we wanted to map all the features the tree has, like in a digital world. And then, of course, mostly like in the fruit domain, people grow trees just to harvest food. And so the food is the final product. And so the most crucial feature, I would say, is actually the amount or the quality of the fruit that is growing there. And it's very interesting for a lot of people, like not only the people who grow and actually sell apples, for example, but also people who do research on fruit trees or to breed new varieties or a lot of people actually.
So how big is the fruit counting community, and I mean, who is in general interested? Is it someone with a vineyard or someone with cherry trees or just everybody? Is it like a big economic factor counting fruit?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, Lukas, you
okay.
can.
Yeah, it's actually quite a niche. I would say it hasn't been deployed to. I guess it's had not been deployed to actually farms at all, but I guess now it's mostly related to like breeding station where they try out new fruits. They want to monitor their fruits. They want to get specific features out of their of the growth, different growth stages, so they can actually evaluate the different kind of like steps to make a prediction on how certain types of fruits gonna how they work to tackle problems such as climate change, to kind of like make them more resistant and so on. So we work together with a cherry research facility in Forchheim, where they have actually different kind of trees, and where they kind of like stick together new new kind of like fruit types, and then evaluate. It's kind of like long process. If you have like 10 to 15 years, a certain tree has to grow, and then they kind of like evaluate how this specific fruit is acting like in certain environments under certain stress circumstances.
Yeah, I would also say it's a pretty niche research topic yet, but not because there's nobody interested in like knowing the number of fruits exactly, but only because it's not really solved yet. I mean, there are many approaches, but none of them do really scale in a way that is easy and cheap and affordable to really use without the cost outweighing the benefits, right? And I think the biggest part of the community is actually the people who have to count food manually. I mean, if you talk to people who work in the biological domain and the people at the research center Lukas mentioned, they do have to do this work by hand, which is tiresome and really needs a lot of concentration. And we did this as well because we wanted to have the ground truth for our trees. And I can tell you that 3 people counting the same tree get to 3 different numbers. Like even if it's just 100 apples, it's really difficult to keep track on which apple you counted already and which you didn't.
So the ground truth would be the average of all 3 people in the end.
Yes.
Okay. So, but it's not like an topic which is where a lot of, or well, like let's say, where main focus or main research is happening in the computer science community. It's really something you are pioneering.
Yeah, I mean, we come from computer vision community because we working at the computer science department, both of us, but most research is done in the agricultural science. So they start from a different point. They studied agricultural science and have more knowledge on the actual biology of the tree. And we learned a lot, but we started with zero knowledge about trees. So we actually learned so much about trees, and we started from this perspective. The people who employed other algorithms, they started from the other community. So now we kind of like meet in the middle, and that's why we have kind of like maybe different or new approaches which come from the computer science or computer vision community.
I would also say there are plenty of counting approaches like years ago. Yeah, they're several years old, so we're definitely not like the first doing this. And this is something, you should keep in mind.
And so then obviously, you're coming through the lens first with like digital twins, and then like how did kind of like either like seeing like Nerf or seeing like this invention where you have like hyper realistic representations from just like normal 2D images, did that just kind of make it like a rocket in terms of like, okay, we have to like try and pivot towards leveraging some of this technology, or this could be really beneficial for our use case?
Yeah, we actually started from just using recording images from the tree, using Colmap to get dense reconstruction with structure for motion and multi-view stereo. But yeah, on the one side, if you have multiple images, it takes several hours to reconstruct the tree, and the point cloud was the results are quite nice. But when we first saw NeRF, the visualization and all the rendering stuff you get out of it was like astonishing. Yeah, you just showed us the video of the cherry tree in full blossom. Yeah, I mean, that was our first touch with neural radiance fields. And I mean, we were all surprised that it worked so well. Mm-hmm. So we also did NeRF on a cherry tree with full leaves, and yeah, it has some problems with dynamics and so on, but yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, the goal was like getting 3D reconstructions from the tree, because like I said, we want to build a digital twin, and that includes all the features the tree really has, and to accurately map them, or you have to go on the 3D dimension, right? Because you cannot like find the same branch you investigated last year and the next year without having like an accurate map. And I think this was the starting point, like one of our previous publications, the cherry picker, where we try to just map the branching structure from the tree to get an accurate representation, right? And to be able to navigate within the tree, because then you want to do like research, and you have to compare like different time points, and you can only do that if you are even able to find the same location over different time points again. Because trees are so dynamic, it's not that easy, right? If you go there 1 year later, you have no idea what branches that you looked at a year ago.
Yeah, if you basically have fruits growing over a certain time period, with cherries, cherries and leaves, they're quite heavy, and the leaves and apples, they're heavy, so the tree actually kind of like bends. And if you want to observe one specific fruit or leaf structure, a certain region, you just can't remember the 3D location. You have to like go over the topology, extract it from the skeleton, and then you're able to navigate to a certain position in your tree to keep track of this region.
I think there are like many challenges, like also environmental challenges, and also if you want to track a certain fruit, just imagine someone coming around and picking the fruits up so they are gone, and stuff like this can happen, or like stormy weather which blows the fruits away. So what are specific challenges, maybe from a computer science perspective and from a reconstruction perspective?
You can okay. Maybe the first problem we tackled is we started doing this thing with a drone, and if you have the tree in vegetation dormancy, so basically no leaves at all, like here, I guess the buds, they're kind of like already swollen, so shortly before full bloom, or before the blossom. And you can see there's a dynamic in the trees, but if you have no leaves at all, there's no dynamic, because the surface of the branches, they're like going to near zero, so there's no way that the branches can like wave around. But at the point the leaves grow, it's really impossible for the first 1.5 meter to actually get a proper reconstruction, even with NeRF, because you have so much dynamic in your scene. And but actually we started with using a DSLR camera for the first tests, because we wanted to buy the drone, and we started during the Corona pandemic, and we had issues obtaining our drone. So I took a letter and the DSLR camera and went around the tree and recorded it. So the nice thing here about is you have no dynamic. If there's a heavy wind blow, you just wait till the wind is gone, and then you continue starting your images. But actually, the dynamic of the scene is a huge problem in this.
And so you were capturing roughly like 350 images or so with like a 35 millimeter lens, or what was like the approximate for these?
Yeah, that's I guess that's correct. 300 to 350. So yeah, at the beginning I tried to vary the number of images I took. I remember that I took 1,000 images of one cherry tree, which was actually huge. So I wanted to get the best result, but that the PC got to its limits, because if you kind of like do the dense reconstruction, you load all the dense reconstruction in your memory, and then it just blows, and you can't get a proper reconstruction. So I guess 300 is a nice number to start with, but you actually could decrease the number of images if you have a good coverage of your scene.
And so I also wanted to kind of go into just like how Fruit Nerf actually works, and some of these like other challenges. Like one of the things I remember from the paper is like, how do you ensure that you're not like double counting individual pieces of fruit, or say if there's like a fruit that's like fallen to the ground, and like kind of like removing that from the equation. So I'd love to kind of go through about how Fruit Nerf actually functions.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, the double counting, you simply take a nerf and you try to fit all your images into your network and try to learn the density and the appearance. And by simply additionally lifting all your semantic mask into 3D space, you basically have not only semantic knowledge, but you can combine the density knowledge and your semantic knowledge, and then you kind of like implicitly encode. I called we call it fruit field, where you encode the appearance or the presence of a fruit, which basically inherently just avoids the problem of double counting. Because if you do other approaches, they basically do structure for motion or optical flow, and then it's getting more tricky to avoid double counting, because if your measurement is quite noisy, or you lost track of your fruit, you have a problem that you've seen this fruit and I haven't seen it before, so I start tracking it. So you're gonna start counting this one additionally. With fruits on the ground, we didn't tackle this problem. We just used a bounding box to crop out the fruit tree. But if you go a step further, you just can limit your space where you want to count fruits to your region of interest by, I don't know, fitting a plane and just remove the ground. And because if you do it on a farm, you just do it on a large scale. We try to do it on a single tree to actually kind of like show a proof of concept. So if you go further, you can improve actually a lot.
And so the way that you were even training these semantics too, I believe, was it through the Fuji SFM data set to kind of just get that initial like fruit baseline for it to recognize?
Sorry, I didn't get this one.
Oh, sure. So for the actual like understanding of the semantics, then were you using the Fuji SFM data to actually like train the system to understand, or to be able to discern what fruit is what?
Yeah. So actually, we started with our own data set, but our own data set, we just had a ground truth how many fruits there were, and we couldn't evaluate if a fruit was counted correctly. So we luckily found the Fuji dataset, which had annotated 3D bounding boxes. So we could actually evaluate if the fruit that was counted is counted correctly. And therefore, we took that dataset, basically just took the images from both sides of the trees, and then for training, we used grounded SAM. So basically, we just used Apple as a text prompt, and grounded SAM kind of like uses a text embedding and then combines it with SAM and to extract the actually fruit, and that worked pretty well. I guess Andreas can talk a little bit more about the unit we also used.
Yeah. I mean, I can also give some context maybe, because the challenge was like to identify the fruit, right, in 3D. And the first approach we did was Lukas mentioned creating the dense point clouds with call map only, and then do classic point cloud segmentation, also using AI, of course. But then you have really like labelsome annotational work, which we started, which also works pretty well for the vegetational phase of the tree where there are no leaves yet, right? But as soon as there are leaves, the point clouds are so dense and so difficult to annotate. It's really a pain. And then we started thinking about what can we do to tackle this problem, because I mean, all the other approaches, or most of the other approaches, I don't want to generalize, rely on 2D segmentation, right? So you just take pictures, you find the apples in the pictures, you segment them, and then you use, for example, optical flow or some other algorithms to tackle the problem you have that if you take a lot of pictures of one tree, like the same apples are gonna appear on different pictures, which is a double counting problem. And you will also have apples that are in the background of your tree of interest, which will when you have a good segmentation network or object detection network, it will also detect those apples that are not in your interest, like in the background trees or on the ground and stuff like that. So yeah, for us the solution was to go into 3D, and then we struggled with the segmenting 3D point clouds, and then we kind of came upon the idea of using a variation of a semantic nerf maybe for our data, and started like doing 2D segmentation of the apples. I also have to mention, because we started when we introduced this project, or what we did is actually focusing on cherries, and you might have noticed there were no cherry data pictures in the publication and everything we did, because cherries are really difficult to find in 2D even, right? They're, first of all, a lot more food, so it's way harder to count them. I mean, counting the apples was difficult too, but there you get way better estimates because it's like 200 apples maybe, and not 800 or 900 cherries per tree. And the cherries are way smaller and tend to hide behind leaves, which makes it very difficult to capture them in 2D even. And so the 2D approach did not seem so like promising in the beginning, and then we realized that this method is gonna be pretty good, or it's gonna be working probably, but we have to switch to a little bit bigger fruits, because cherries, I think, are probably the hardest fruit to solve this challenge for. Maybe someone else will find an even more difficult fruit, but I can only recommend you not to start with cherries. And for apples, we found the benchmark beta set. We also had apple trees at our research site. Then we started taking the pictures of the apple trees, and there the 2D segmentation worked pretty well, right? You can use out of the box SAM and grounded SAM for the segmentation. We were not exactly sure whether this is good enough. This is why we also trained a custom unit, like segmented our own data, used the Fuji data, trained a classical semantic segmentation network on the 2D data, and then compared like how well is Fruit Nerf doing on the unit segmentations, how well is it doing on the SAM segmentation, and actually found that SAM does really well, or at least good enough. It's probably not worth the effort to train, to gather your own data set, to label it, to train the unit, and then to get the masks. So the masks were a little bit better using the unit. Like, I mean, if you look at by your own eye, naked eye, it seems that they were more accurate. But for the overall challenge of locating and finding the apples, the SAM worked good enough, definitely. And there you have the obvious benefit of not having to label your own data, not having to craft a data set, and you can easily exchange the food, which is amazing, right? You can just change the text prompt, and then you get other foods. But you have to get a little creative with the text prompt, okay, right? So not always straightforward.
Yeah, and
Did you?
to the same point about the text prompts as well. One of the things I noticed in the paper is that you said that this success rates were significantly higher if you did a singular prompt versus something like apple rather than apples, or mango rather than mangoes. Is that one of those like general learnings?
Yeah, sure, but yeah, we were quite surprised that yeah, plural did a worse job. So it was actually, I guess, only 80% of the apples were detected when you used the plural. But yeah, also we used a synthetic data set for 6 different, I guess it was 6 different fruit types, and yeah, we had mangoes, and mangoes, yeah, the text prompt didn't work good enough, so we just used apple as a text prompt, so that worked quite well. So the mangoes were segmented out quite well. Yeah, and we also tried to append just basically fruit as an additional text prompt that also increased it a little bit. But yeah, if you just use the name of the tree of the fruit, you're, yeah, I guess good to go. Yeah, but I'm not sure how good it works for like soft fruit like strawberries or blueberries and so on. Let's still to prove how how fast the application is here. This is with this Fruit Nerf.
By the way, did you look at different apple trees? For instance, it might be harder to segment green apples than red apples. Did it play a role at all?
Not quite sure. We tried our own data set, which is visualized in the paper as well.
It's mostly green apples there, right? We started with the green ones and like kind of hoped that it will also work with the red or more colored ones. And I think on the Fuji data set there are also plenty of red apples present, right? But yeah, you can.
Yeah. And we also used the Fuji dataset, and the Fuji dataset, they were, there's kind of like, it's hard to determine whether it's green or red. Sometimes if you do the recordings at a certain time point, so the apples are actually grown already, and then you kind of like wait another week or 2 weeks to let the apple get more reddish, that it's more it's nicer to buy for the consumer, but it actually didn't play that much of a role.
Okay.
Yeah, the video you're showing right now, it was not from us actually, just to give proper credit. It's also not our data set, but I can assure you our apples were like equally green in our data set. Right?
But you did not only use real world data, you also use synthetic data. So maybe we can talk about synthetic data. What kind of data and for what purpose did you use it?
I mean, yeah, it's always nice to start with synthetic data before you, if you have a certain problem, it's always nice to start with synthetic data because you have like this God mode. You know, you can control everything. You have not only the exact position of the fruit, you have the, you can extract the mesh or even the point cloud, and then you can get a more exact evaluation on your approach. And if your approach actually works on synthetic data, which was with our case, you are ready to go to start evaluating on real world data. But yeah, we took this data set, had like, I don't know, six different fruit types, and then at first evaluated how good did it work on these synthetic data. And yeah, I guess all these nice extensions where you just use Blender, put your fruit inside, and then there's this nice plugin FruitNeRF where you can just take a sphere around your scene and take images from your hemisphere towards the tree. And then you're kind of like able to control how many images you want to take, what resolution do you want. So you have so many screws which you can tighten and loosen. That's quite nice.
And also, I think if you want to fine-tune something, segmentation network based on apples might be very useful because then you can produce trees in all different shapes and sizes and put as many apples as you want on them, more occluded, less occluded. So I guess this is a very nice approach, but you didn't stress that, right?
No, we did not try to use synthetic data for actually training our data set. I don't even know why, but at that case it was no option because we had some time issues. The deadline was approaching, but I guess if you have a data set, a vast data set, because we only had one apple tree. And if you just have one apple tree and extract the data from one apple tree, you have just limited knowledge about your domain. So I guess it really would have helped if you have like several hundred trees, and then with these several hundred trees to actually record data, which we could have used for our synthetic data set. But we didn't dive into this one.
Yeah, but also speaking like from industrial application experience, the using of synthetic data is not as it's promising, and often like something you wish you can do, but it's also complicated, right? Because it's really difficult to model the complex reality that good. I mean, the tree is a perfect example for that, because the real leaf structures and occlusions, they are really complex. And the Blender model we used, I think, was more of a simplistic version of the tree. So of course you can like generate tons of data with that, but they are not gonna be really representative for the real world, right? At some point, it's gonna help learn features. It probably would have helped to include some of the images, but just imagine we would have trained our segmentation unit only on those synthetic data set. It would have not generalized well on our real data from our real apple trees, just because it's the reality is different in this case. And again, you can spend a lot more effort in modeling the tree, making it more realistic, but then you will also have to spend a lot more time doing that. And we didn't build those trees from by hand, but used pre-existing models. I think that's all right. Just
But yeah, we also tried. We on one side tried to count fruit with ground truth mask. So basically, we rendered out images, and with the compositor, we were able to also extract the semantic masks from our Blender scene. And additionally, we took these rendered images and put them into grounded SAM and tried to detect the apples or the other fruits. It worked amazingly. So I guess for the apple, actually, the performance was exactly the same. And with the other fruits, also with increasing number of fruits, the mask or Fruit Nerf with SAM mask was a little bit was not as good as with ground truth mask, but it's a nice trade-off that you have just this method which you get out of the box, and it performs so well on these fruits.
And maybe what was your performance in the end? So when you count the fruits with some of the semantic masks and the Fruit Nerf, so how good are the results? And also maybe a follow-up question then, if you have a certain ratio of data you count correctly, like let's say you count correctly 80% of the fruits, maybe did you compare this to a human who counts the data of the fruits, and how it compares in comparison to a human?
Right. So actually, we can make this comparison with the Fuji dataset. The Fuji dataset, if you won't ever count with Apple data, Fuji dataset is open source. You get the images, and I guess you get also the ground truth masks.
I mean, the annotations, they are somewhat faulty, but pretty good for open source annotations, I would say.
Yeah. One downside is that you do not get the actually poses of the images, so that was quite a hustle that you recover it, and you have both sides, and both sides, they don't register with each other, and then you have to do it manually, which is actually prone to errors, and it was not perfect. And we had an overall F1 score of, I guess it was 78 or 79%, and the actually Fuji paper had a F1 score of 88%. So it was better. Their approach was better, but this only worked on apples. So if you think of our approach, it is not exactly for all fruits, but it's a more generalized, unified approach, which works not only in apples, but peaches, mangoes, plums, and so on. So that's actually a nice trade-off. You have to pay but it performs worse than an actual specific fruit counting algorithm.
Mhm.
And also, to the other question, I think human annotators account for around 10% error rate. So this is what what the researchers from Forchheim told us, that when humans count, they make around a 10% error. You just accept or estimate. And for our own data sets and the synthetic data sets we used, we got pretty strong results, right? So we were, for the synthetic data sets, able to almost count perfectly the food, depending on the food type. It was a little bit better or worse. And for our own Apple data set, which is a bit higher quality than the Fuji data set, it worked also way better than expected and very close to the ground truth, right? But there's also several causes of error you have to think of, because in Fuji the ground truth position is also encoded, and for our ground truth this is not the case, right? So if we do some faulty counting, this could seem, if we get closer to the ground truth, but it does not account for false positives, for example, which Apple's detected at locations where aren't any. It's not really a problem, I think, but it somewhat distorts the counting results because we have no positional encoding ground truths.
Yeah, there's
And
also it's always a hard process to actually record data, because you're limited to just a certain specific time region where you can take photos, and then you're not allowed to make any errors, because if you make an error and you check your data and there's an error, you just have to wait another year. And we also, I can remember when we tried to record the cherry trees in the blossom state, and it was basically, there's maximum of 1 week where you can record the data. And at the beginning they kind of spread, and then you should take images, because if it's rainy, if it's windy, the blossoms can shake up and are not that beautiful anymore. They're kind of distorted, somewhat noisy. And actually this period was around Easter, so nobody was at the lab or at the institute, so nobody recorded the data. So we had to do it after Easter. And basically, if you really rely on these data, you have to wait another year. So there's
nature can really be difficult with that one, right? This year we also wanted to do some additional research where we record the blossom and then predict how many cherries are gonna be on that tree. And at the end of the cherry blossom, it had 2 nights in a row with -5 degrees Celsius. So all of the blossoms just froze, and there were, I think, 30 trees. There were at least in total around 10 cherries or something. So the whole yield was just frozen away for this year. And this was a problem for our region here, and makes this kind of research really unpredictable, and you have to have a long time span to get accurate data.
You can screw your PhD here if you are not there on the right time. But is the problem in general overcounting or undercounting? So is it you have a plus minus a variance, or is it just, has it a tendency of getting overcounted or undercounted? Because I mean, if you do let it make by humans, just imagine you have to count all day apples. I mean, you get very crazy over it, because then you start double counting and so on. So my intuition would be that you count more than there's actually apples. But do you have intuition? What is the case?
So actually, we didn't do any evaluation, but I can speak from experience with FruitNeRF. The precision was always quite high. So actually, when it counted a fruit, the counting was mostly correct. So I actually just missed out fruits, which was probably just to occlusion, or if you observe one fruit only from one perspective, you barely see them in the semantic point cloud or in the semantic rendering. So basically, I would say with our approach, we basically always undercount. And if you probably would analyze this algorithm without improving it, you could probably get a plus of 10-15%, which the number of fruit which you kind of like missed.
And so, just out of curiosity, from that side, as well as we were talking about just the total number of images that you were using, it sounded like that. It seemed like 30 images total was like kind of like that beginning baseline of where FruitNeRF started to like really excel. Has that also been like a large like contributor to correctly counting the numbers of fruit?
I mean, we had this experiment where we had different sizes of image size. I guess we started from 128, raising up to 1025 by 1024, and also varying numbers of images we took. So basically, yeah, we simply just wanted to show how many images we actually needed to get a precise fruit count. But yeah, also it correlates, like you take only 30 images and it takes less processing time for the nerf to actually learn or overfit on your data. Yeah, I mean, we just simply wanted to show how much we can decrease our data to actually get proper results.
Right. Yeah, because it's still very impressive that just 30 images it's really looked pretty strong with that, and kind of building off of the processing time as well. I was definitely very surprised. It's pretty fast. I think you have it at like 12 minutes roughly for the standard Fruit Nerf model, and then I think you also have another model called Fruit Nerf Big, which kind of multiplies that by quite a bit. But it does train very quickly, and with I would say a normal amount of VRAM too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we took actually for the Fruit Nerf, for the basic Fruit Nerf, we took actually the basic Nerf Studio or Nerf Factor model and just adapted it with a different semantic branch. We didn't change too much of the actual training procedure. We tweaked there and here, and yeah, it was quite nice that you get better result with a larger model. But it's actually nice to see that you only need 50 minutes to get a proper counting results. The visualization is not as good as the bigger model, but I guess here the fruit counting just counts, right? So the visualization is just the cherry on your ice cake.
And so, do you foresee then bringing Fruit Nerf like officially into Nerf Studio as a third-party supported method at some point?
Oh, actually, I've never thought about it. I'm not sure if the community is interested in actually seeing such a method in the Nerf Studio, because we talked about it. It's quite a niche product. Time will see if other people will hop on the Nerf train and develop different counting algorithm based on Nerf methods, because all the old methods, they use structure for motion and photogrammetry, multiview stereo. I guess the next big thing is Nerf or Gaussian splatting. So I hope there's some development in this region. So yeah, we will see if there's a need to implement it in the actual Nerf Studio. But it's implemented in Nerf Studio,
So maybe we can talk about your research again. So building on top of this great research, what are your plans to improve on it? Do you have any specific plans to make it more precise, or switch to another technology like Gaussian splatting or something like this?
So I guess we should start first with Gaussian splatting. I did some experiment with Gaussian splatting, and yeah, I started with them at the beginning of Gaussian splatting, I guess last year in December, and the results were not as good as I was expected. Didn't try to fine tune it as much. I was quite happy with Nerf, so I stick with Nerf. And I guess the group from the UC Vision group from New Zealand, around Oliver Batchelor, they did some research about Gaussian splatting and fruit counting. They're, I guess they do very related stuff. So they have actually a very nice setup. They have like a robot which has multiple cameras on a rack, and they drive through these different rows, and they have these high quality recordings, and also your reconstruction really benefits from a high reconstruction. You basically have very high fidelity reconstruction here, so it's quite amazing.
So,
And sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Just go ahead.
I can maybe add that like Lucas is research-wise covering more the technical perspective, I would say, like how we continue there, while we also try to focus. Like, the project is going to end soon, and we want to continue our research work, which is like project-wise. We are talking to other research institutes and look how we can continue doing this research, but also like to industry partners or contacts where we try to get this into a real application, right? Because the amazing visualizations you've seen, they still take pretty much VRAM and processing power and time, and going like with smaller images, less images. Getting our hopes up that we can deploy this on the edge devices, maybe get somewhat close to like real time soon, or at least like to so less computing power that we can use it on site without having like bringing a huge GPU to the place, right? So this is like, I think, 3 directions we are going to. Like, one is a technical like development, like improving the technique. The other one is like continuing our research project wise, and we have a setup that supports us. And the third one is trying to get into actual action with this technique. Yeah.
And we additionally worked on a FruitNeRF successor. It's called FruitNeRF++. Right, and here we kind of like tackle the problem that we, because FruitNeRF is has not this clustering method where it tries to determine the actual fruit count. It's not fruit agnostic. It's kind of like try to map different templates of fruits into your point cloud, and because your FruitNeRF is fruit agnostic, it doesn't matter which kind of fruit it is, but the clustering method is fruit specific, so you have to develop or improve the clustering method for different types of fruits. And here we kind of like tackled this problem by directly learning the instance IDs or instance representations inside your NeRF by extending our approach with an instance field, and try to learn from non-view consistent instance masked and directly encode this information into 3D. And here we can see the instance masks are directly learned in 3D, and here we still have a clustering phase, but this clustering phase is really independent of the fruit and even of the shape. It doesn't have to be a fruit anymore. You can count basically any object. And we try to do it on so-called messy data set. We have certain household objects in a room. We could count 90 out of 100 objects from this scene by just directly learning it from instance masks.
You can do this with Christmas trees, right? You just counting the Christmas balls should be also working.
That would be Christmas Nerf.
Christmas Nerf, that's great. So, how was the reception out there when your paper appeared? So you published on arXiv, and it went pretty viral on social media. So, how was the reception, and how did people react to it?
I was surprised, honestly. I was like in a meeting with Lucas and jokingly said, once you have it uploaded, I'm gonna do like a LinkedIn post, and he was like, yeah, sure, just do it. Like, and usually, pretty much nobody is caring for my LinkedIn, right? And then a lot of people shared it, and a lot of people did not only share like my code, but posted it like themselves. And you guys did too. And this got a lot of attention, and this was like definitely not expected. And I think it comes mostly from the fact that FruitNeRF is like showing a real application domain for the nerf, and also all of this nerf Gaussian plating things has like a really nice visual appeal, right? So even people who are not technically that involved are getting like hooked and watch the whole video. And then also food counting is like such a like simple to grasp topic that everybody like gets it, right? You can see, okay, they're counting apples. This is like a concept that is not hard to share or to explain. So I think this is probably why it got successful. Also because Lukas did this amazing visualization where like semantic mask blends over with the nerf view. So yeah, I guess we're quite happy with that. Or what about you, Lukas?
Yeah, I was always quite surprised. It was nice to see that hard work actually gets the reward. Yeah, and yeah, hopefully we also can further improve FruitNeRF to actually bring it to edge devices and so on. So yeah, we are lucky if we could continue our research or find some research partners or industry partners to still work on it, because yeah, we got a problem that the German government kind of like cut all research development regarding agricultural development. So we actually not right now not able to continue. But yeah, I guess we had some contact to industry partners that they kind of like sponsor or try to push this topic further, because you can kind of like estimate your yield to different stages, which is kind of like a quality measurement for the farmer. Or you could also extend this technology to there's a thing that you have fruit picking robots. There's also at LinkedIn, I've seen multiple videos of fruit picking robots, and yeah, if you use it, bring it down to real time, you're actually able to not only you can visualize the fruit, and you also can determine the exact location of your fruit, which is useful for the robot. That is just like at this position here in Euclidean space, there's this fruit, and you just give this command that the robot can like goes there and picks the apple. So I guess the application is quite broad, but yeah, time will see if we can improve it.
Is this also something that could be extended, to additionally state if a certain like fruit had, a disease or needed to, say like be omitted from a healthy yield, for instance? Is that a potential domain that this could be expanded into as well?
Yeah, for this one, I'm not sure if they're because you're not actually interested if a certain fruit is infected or a leaf is infected, because you basically just want to know if there's infection at all in a tree. So probably here the 2D domain is sufficient to just do some anomaly detection on your image to detect leaves. But it would be able to push this also to a nerf. But I'm not sure if there's any benefit from seeing it in 3D, because probably if some, I don't know these disease names, there are many of them, and if one tree is infected, you just rip off the tree or the surrounding trees and try to eliminate it in the origin. And there would be nice to just identify it, locate it at what tree is this, and then just rip out the tree, and that's all. So you're not actually interested in the count or location of your disease.
But there are many things or applications where the location or the position in the 3 dimension is like crucial, right? And we focused a lot on the counting right now when we were talking, but actually the localization in 3D is probably the biggest achievement of this, because every robotic approach that is going to be like employed in this domain, every automation approach relies on knowing exactly where the objects of interest are, right? If you want to like build robotics who pick up the foods, who spray pesticides on special places, or who thin out like the blossoms, or every application you could potentially like build, it needs to have this third dimension to successfully like work, right? And then counting is just like one possible application on the localization that we did, but the real power of this method is probably like detecting the object like really good. So any robot could also like calculate a navigational map on how to move his robot arm to get to the food and cut it off or do whatever the robot is supposed to do.
Yeah, and I also remember fruit sizing is actually, I guess, also a huge research topic, because you got different size of fruits, and different size of fruits are needed for different markets. So people from the US, they eat different fruits than people from Germany or Japan. So basically, the fruit size is actually a thing where you have to look at, and if a fruit has reached a certain size, you just say, yeah, let's go harvest it, because we need so many trees or such a percentage rate for a certain market, and there you can like localize these fruits and maybe optimize the entire pipeline.
Yeah, I guess you get a lot of domain knowledge behind your research. That's very interesting. Let's say I'm very enthusiastic about counting the fruit apples on my tree in my garden. So how would I start? How could I do it? Just taking pictures, reconstruct the nerf, and then I'm good to go.
Yeah, I've seen you created your rack with all the cameras. So basically, you could just take it, run around your tree, and if the tree is not as dense as this huge apple trees, which are 20 to 40 years old, that would be hard because you need a drone or look inside the tree. But for a medium-sized tree, you just scan your reconstruction, run it to processing pipeline, obtain your positions, run it to grounded SAM. You just throw in, if it's an apple tree, just pass apple, and then you're good to go, and hopefully it works.
Awesome. So maybe another question: what was your most surprising finding during the whole process, during the research process? So what was maybe something you didn't expect?
Hard question.
Actually, yeah, I think you can start, but no, okay, I'll go. For me, it was very frustrating to start with cherries. I think this was a tricky one because we really thought our methods are not going to work. Like for me, we tried it on apple, and then I think the also like most interesting or unexpected thing was just working in outside. Right, we are both for IT people who do computer vision, of course, but like going on the field actually and working there is a very different setup than sitting in front of your computer. And taking pictures in the lab is also very different of doing it outside, right? It's a sunny day, the cloud comes in, the cloud goes, the whole lighting scene changed like completely. You have to like change your camera settings, you forgot your sunscreen, the sun is burning down on you, and then you get home and basically wet like one of the cherries you were scanning, right? And at one point it was snowy, and we went there to do like pictures and get the trees in the winter, and we all got sunburned because the snow was reflecting the sun, right? And this is not what I'm used to in my everyday life and work, and this made this project like special, I would say.
Yeah, basically I would say the same. Yeah, I was very proud to work with cherries because in our region, Franconia, there's like a very huge sweet cherry area where a lot of sweet cherry farmers are, and the people eat a lot of cherries here. And at some point it was just like cherries are so hard, screw them. Let's switch to apples. But basically, if you go out to this farm, it's basically nice. As Andreas already said, to go outside. And if you're just before harvest to make some recordings, you just go through this farm, and you can snack so many different kind of fruits, which is kind of like a nice side effect. Yeah, just being outside is also nice. It's nice.
But you get like really get some people really angry if you snack from the wrong trees, right? Where they are doing the experiments, Snacking is strictly prohibited because you mess up all the counting and evaluation they're doing.
Yeah, and then it's overcounted, right?
Right.
And I guess just one last question that I had, 'cause I know we're just about at time, but all of these data points so far have been in standard RGB images, but this would also work as well with like other types of images, like infrared, for instance. Like you'd be able to also port this to other mediums, right?
Right. Yeah. I guess in the last month, I guess there's been a huge progress of thermal nerf publications. Also in our lab, published a work on thermal nerf. So basically, you take a thermal camera and try to use this domain or this modality. But we also started recording with a multispectral camera where you have your different channels, RGB, near infrared, red edge, and yeah, I guess this would be the next extension to kind of like use these data to improve or support this counting process to get even better results. Because yeah, if you look at a certain wavelength and just look at the tree, you certainly can see if the leaves are like just shiny and the apples are shiny. So maybe you get the segmentation mask for free, or you can directly also learn these multi-modalities and basically support the fruit counting process, which is, I guess, the next step or the next progress in this domain.
Yeah, kind of as that like follow up, then I wanted to just get your thoughts on like what like the potential of these advancements are, and like just general radiance fields, whether they're NeRFs, neural radiance fields, or Gaussian splatting as well. Like what do you think might be coming down the road?
Whew. Hard question. Yeah, I guess what I like about NeRF is kind of like they forgive you more, because if you have noisy data, they kind of like average it out in your representation. And yeah, with Gaussian splatting you get a more accurate reconstruction. But yeah, we tried it out and the points were too narrow or too low. So we should have increased it, because if you do a reconstruction over 12 trees, and I guess the Gaussian splatting or the G-splat from Nerf Studio, they just start with 1 million points, and you have just 1 million points to represent these high these narrow structures like branches and all. You need way more points to get an accurate or geometric correct representation. I guess I can't decide yet, because I haven't tried too much with Gaussian splitting in this domain. But I guess probably both approaches have benefits and or downs and ups. Right, but you should try out.
Awesome. And so then, where can people kind of keep in touch or follow along with your research projects?
Right. Yeah, you can both follow us on I guess LinkedIn or on my GitHub, or on both GitHub pages. I guess I'm going to finish my PhD this year, so I probably stop working in this domain. I guess Andreas is still working on plant phenotyping. I guess we also have a nice video where he works on. I guess Andreas can talk about more on this topic.
Yeah, for sure. So our institute works with this topic. We did phenotyping, like I think for the last 20 years already, mostly with X-ray domain, which is also very niche, I think, where we besides our X-ray especially, we also do optic measurements, and we of course stumbled over Gaussian splatting. So we do like precise measurements of plants. And recently cannabis got legalized, so we also started doing that. We made a promo video, which you can see right here, where we build a whole lab setup that revolves around like capturing plants in detail, like building a controlled environment where we can also capture them in the lab setting for like research questions or institutes or seed producers or everything like that. And there we're definitely gonna stay on the 3D reconstruction train. Like we're gonna do Nerfs and Gaussian splotting and also try to extend this. And if you're interested in this, you can of course contact me. I will be happy about it. Like from an industrial perspective, from a research perspective, but also if you're like a student, want to do like your master's thesis in this field, I'm really happy to have you. So you can like low key write me a LinkedIn or an email or however you would like, probably also contact you guys and you can just forward it to me.
Yeah, we can certainly do this. Looks very exciting, and also that you keep going with this reconstruction domain and this area. So it was a very fun talk with you guys. I learned a lot about fruit counting and how you can use radiance fields to be more accurate, probably than humans, at least in the future. Maybe not yet, but yeah, it was very interesting, very fun topic, and also something which is on a very innovative side of research, I think, and many people are very curious about what you are doing. So it was a great talk with you.
Right then. Thanks for having us here, and hope to see you again.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Cool. Thanks so much, everyone. And we'll be back next week. I'm not sure if we can actually say just yet who the guest will be, though I know that you guys will be very, very interested in this upcoming guest. So we're very, very excited to return next week. Same time, Thursdays at 3 p.m. EST, 12 p.m. PST, and I believe 9 p.m. Is that correct, Janusz?
Yes.
All right. Yep.
9 CET.
Yep. So hold your calendars, and we'll be back next week. So thank you so much for everyone for tuning in for another episode of the View Dependent podcast, and make sure to follow as well if you haven't already for more continuous content. But yeah, we appreciate it, and have a good rest of your day.